Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play Legend of Dragoon. And last time we met the 7th knighthood over up in the top right there, and we were met with a rather interesting sequence, which I did compliment at the time. Since then I've done some backtracking, but in particular about that scene, although I still like it, on further thought on the whole thing, I think it would have done better to have put a scene like that, especially considering the fact that Dart was talking about, seeing another soldier on the ground and regarding that there are no enemies in death or something to that extent. I think that type of a scene would have done a lot better later in the game, later in this war, as opposed to, pretty much right at the beginning. It's not exactly at the beginning, but it is pretty close. Anyway, since last time I actually took a quick trip back to Bale, and fought a couple of battles on the way, but I went back to Bale mainly because I had way too many items and I was almost full, and you will note this yourself if you decide to play the game. You're always going to have nowhere near enough room because the item limit. And so I sold off some stuff, and let's see, what do I have left here? We'll go on that boat in a moment here. Just take a look at my list here. I got 5 potions, a couple of healing breezes, a couple of sun rhapsodies, 4 angels prayers. I think I've picked up a body purifier on the way because I think I only had 2 before, but oh well. Make sure the detonate rock is probably the weakest attack item in the game. It's definitely not required. It hits multiple enemies. You're probably better off using that in a normal fight than in any other situation. I have one other use for it at this point in the game. Pretty much beyond this point, it's useless. Just sell it. Doesn't sell for very much, but nothing does in this game. Other than that, keep all your attack items at this stage, and then we'll move on. Now, here we get to use this boat, and the boat very slowly goes from place to place. Now, at each landing, it's very straightforward. At each landing, you get off the boat, you collect an item. Now, Spirit Potion I got last time, and I didn't really mention what it did. Let's move down, and what a Spirit Potion does is it recovers 100 SP for a character, so it allows them to become a Dragoon, pretty much right away. I don't know if you can use them outside of battle, actually. It's just something that never comes up. I never use them, and I wouldn't really recommend it. Normally you can just do an attack or 2 or even 3 and you have enough to transform, so it's not usually a big deal. And I didn't really talk about those other enemies, little myconoids or whatever they were, the little mushroom dudes. They're not particularly challenging. These guys are blue elemental. They have a Spear Frost attack, which is very similar to the one that the mermen, or not the mermen, I've ran into them already too, off screen, but who was it? The Sandoran soldiers, the blue one. They could use a magical attack, which could do quite a bit of damage to Dart. These ones can do the same thing, and I'll probably end up showing it off right here, because this guy won't die, and he'll probably, oh look at that, he just used the normal attack. Would have done double the damage to Dart if he had used the other attack on him. Mainly because Dart's magic defense is not so great. Yeah, the enemies around here. Hey! I was going to buy one of those later anyway, not bad. Pellet is the earth elemental single targeting attack, by the way. There's another body purifier, which I need to get rid of. I'll sell it later. We have a reason to head back to Bale pretty quickly here. I'm just going to pick up some of the items in this area, and then we'll make a little detour back there. There's a couple of things I need to go over, specifically things that I wanted to wait until I got said item in here before going back. And there's actually one other thing we can do back in Bale, but we'll get to that when we do get to it. Go down here, and here we get the Magic Stone of Signet, otherwise known as the Magic Sig Stone. This is a different type of item than anything we've picked up thus far. What it does is it blocks a minor enemy's turn, so pretty much any normal enemy, for 3 turns. And that repeat at the bottom there indicates that you can use it once per battle, and then you can use it once in every other battle. So it never disappears. It's not like it's not a consumable, but you can only use it once per battle, but you can use it in every battle. And it doesn't usually work on bosses, and there are a few other situations where it doesn't work, but it is very, very useful to have. Alright, now after that battle I actually found another pellet, which is going to save me some money because I had planned on buying 4 of them later. Now I only have to buy 2. And here we get a stun guard, which pretty obviously will protect you from being stunned. Now I'm just going to off-screen taking the boat all the way back here. Actually, no, wait a minute. I'm going to go all the way back to Bale, so I'll just meet you back in Bale. Might as well do more backtracking all off-screen instead of backtracking just to tell you that I'm going to do more backtracking. Anyway. And here we are back at Bale. Now, there's 2 reasons to come back here. 1, well, 3 I guess. 1, I need to sell items. 2, I want to show you off a specific battle now that I have the Magic Signet Stone. And 3, and well, probably most importantly, after raiding the destroyed hideout of the 7th Knighthood, we got our 10th Stardust. So now we can bring it to Martell and get our first reward for this side quest. How about you? Well, how many more do I have to give you? 3? 3. Nice. Take this. It may come in handy. The physical ring, which is actually probably, other than the last one, the most useful of all of the items she gives you. Just kind of odd that you get it right off the start. What it does is it gives 50% additional HP to anyone who equips it. And for certain characters, specifically Rose, as you can see, she has 100 less HP than Lavitz at this point, and I don't have anything particularly good to equip her with. However, now that I have the physical ring, she now has just as much HP as either of my other 2 characters, meaning very, very, very good. I'm just going to go sell some stuff off screen, rest in the inn, and I'll be right back. I'll go this way. Alright, you guys, we're back, and here I found the other enemy the enemy that I wanted to fight. This is the yellow bird, and now I want to go into detail on the special enemies of the game. The special enemies in this game are enemies that take 1 damage no matter what you use on them. There's only 1 item that can do anything other than 1 damage, and we don't have that yet, and I'll go into that in greater detail once we do get it. Specifically, this is the yellow bird. This is the first one we can encounter, and you can encounter it on the road that leads from the little dot, and I'll show you once we get to the world map, but from the little dot to Bale. There's only 1 little section there, and if you run into this guy, he has very, very, very high evade, which is kind of annoying. He's very much like a Cactar from the Final Fantasy series. And the thing is, we can only do 1 damage to him per attack, and since we miss a lot, we don't have a lot of opportunity to hit him. Somebody please hit him. In addition to this, he likes to run away a lot. Again, like Cactars. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to hit him at least once. Come on, game. Hit the guy. Hit him. I don't think I've ever had this bad of luck. Wow, that is a lot of bad luck. 6 misses in a row. I think that's a new record for me. I think I've had like 4 or 5 before, but never this many. There we go. Anyway, I got a hit off, and yes, it does 1 damage. Now, like I said, he tends to run away a lot. So the best way of dealing with this enemy, he's also relatively fast, but is to use the Magic Signet Stone. Now, there's 2 options here. One is to hit the enemy once and then use it. I prefer to try and hit him a 2nd time before using it. Just you're trying to prevent the guy from running away, and they tend to run away a lot more often when they're on lower HP. So I got a 2nd hit off. Now, assuming I get another turn before he runs away, I am going to use the Magic Signet Stone to block him from any action. and it'll block him from either running away or anything else. He has a total of 4 HP, and as we just use the item, now, hopefully, one more hit left, and hopefully I can actually show this off. It'd be nice to show off actually killing one. As you can see, he can get 2 turns in a row. And look at that, I actually was able to kill him after that horrendous start of 6 misses in a row. But anyway, you kill these special enemies, and they have usually much better drops than pretty much anyone else. In this case, 300 gold, 1 fight. There are other ones later that give experience and, that drop specific items. This is the area you can encounter them between this little dot here and Bale Castle itself. So yeah, if you really feel the need for extra gold, I would recommend coming here to farm a little bit, though at this point you really don't need any more. There's nothing to buy. And get through that battle. I forgot to turn the music back on, but there wasn't much point there. All we had to do was walk back in here, and we can continue on. I'll just do the rest of this on screen. Screw the... Come on, move, please. Thank you. Screw the backtracking. It kind of gets dull jumping around from place to place too much, but you don't want to show too much of the same stuff over and over again either. It's always a fine line. Anyway, if we head straight, we go to the volcano. Right rear is the 7th fort, which we were already at, and heading right goes to the town of Hoax, which we just came from. And one more battle. New enemy? Ah, we get 2 new enemies. Nice. That's a good thing I was able to show some of more of these enemies off. I'm not particularly interested in showing off every single enemy in this area, or any area in particular, because the enemies in this game are not particularly challenging or noteworthy. I will show off any of the enemies I encounter for the first time, just like I've always done. But I don't see any need in going out of my way to find every single enemy to show them off. I think I did that. Well, I don't think I've ever done that exclusively, but I've done that a little more. Tried to find certain enemies in games like Final Fantasy 4 and 7. But there are very few interesting enemies, and when we do find them, I will definitely show them off. And this is the Merman. He has the Spear Frost, which I didn't want to happen, but there it is. Let's guard with Dart, get a little HP back, and finish this guy off with Rose. Rose is pretty powerful when we get her. Her weapon is a rapier, or I don't think it's technically a short sword. It's a type of shorter sword, but it is what it is. She's another sword wielder. She reminds me a lot, and I guess it's probably the other way around because the game I'm thinking of happened way after this, but it makes me think of Chloe from Tales of Legendia. I was actually thinking about that game the other day. I have no desire to make a Let's Play for that at this point. It took me over a year and a half to complete that game the first time, considering how many times I got bored by it. So I don't, like I was saying, I don't have any desire to make a Let's Play for it, but it definitely had one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a video game, especially considering how much else from the game was just kind of meh, average, repetitive, boring. And I wouldn't say it's a horrible game, but it's definitely not, top tier. It's definitely not a Legend of Dragoon. And here, I've been ignoring their conversation there, but oh, it's the first time we've heard this theme. This is actually a rather important theme. I'll let it sit on this dialogue for a sec. It's a good song. Oddly enough, it's actually important to the plot later, but we'll get into that a little more when we get there. Not for quite a while now. Anyway, as you can see, Dart is still babying his quote-unquote little sister. She's not actually his sister, they just have that kind of relationship, and that's specifically how Dart views the relationship. If you had stayed in Hoax, nothing would have changed. I haven't really used you since we left there, have I? Ah, a weak moment. Okay. You can't fight like roads. Well, that doesn't surprise me. If you wielded a sword or a rapier or a spear, then you'd probably have additions and you might be useful in battle. But you equipped a bow. Your own fault. You chose that weapon. I didn't. Actually, in most games where you can equip a bow, like in traditional RPG, I would almost never choose to equip a bow. The only one I can think of where I would is Final Fantasy V, and that's because you have specific classes that only use bows. I'm assuming she's fine. Why are we in the darkness again? Huh? Anybody? No? Yeah, they just kind of went into their own little world for a moment, and we walked to the next screen. You didn't miss anything. We could see the entrance to the next screen already, so... Anyway, the pain is gone. Shauna's fine. Everybody's fine. Let's continue. Nothing left to do here. Just continue through the marshland and head toward the volcano. Dart? Dart? Where'd you go, Dart? Yeah, I don't know why they chose to put this as the screen angle for when we go in here, but yeah, you can't even see Dart. Anyway, here we are at the volcano. And there's one little sequence I want to show off, and then we'll call it a day. Whoa. Apparently this volcano is active. Oh. What's that in the background? Is that moving? Looks like fire? Firebird? It's up to him. Crap. He chose wrong. Run! In all seriousness, I have no idea why we're running from this thing. I guess we're still supposed to be afraid of the dragon, but I'll show you he's not much of a challenge either. Anyway, we lost him. Time to move on. Okay, so let's see if I can pick up that treasure chest, and then we'll call it a day. And in here we get another Spear Frost, which, in a volcano, will be of some use. Anyway, that's all the time I have for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.